Hello. At it again. It's been my first day of driving around and there's been a bunch of problems, but I want to show you something interesting of what I found. This is the fuel that I've just taken out of the car. I've been driving around for about an hour or something, and the temperature is, what does that say? Can you see that? No. It says 49 degrees. When I first took it out, it was sitting at about 55 degrees. That petrol there. And also, you can see that's the hose that I took off. That's the feed to the carburetor. If you look down here, you can see vapors. I don't know if you can see this way. There you can a little bit. Kind of hard to see, but you can definitely see better that way. You can just see it. Those are vapors that are coming out. So we're definitely vaporizing fuel, which is good, or at least heating it up so that it vaporizes more. But it was idling real bad, stalled a few times, and so far I've used a quarter of a tank of fuel for one trip, which is about 80 Ks, which is like at least twice as bad as usual. So I'm not sure what's going on exactly, if maybe the heat or something is different. I don't know. But I'm going to connect it back on. I figured out how to make it idle better, which is pretty much that there was a vacuum line that was connected to some. I'll show you. So this is the original air box, and I've just taken it off since I got home. And inside there, it's an old filter, and it's relatively restrictive and stuff. It's got a few different vacuum hoses and stuff, and then it's got this weird contraption. If anybody knows what this is and what it does, can you please tell me? You can kind of, I don't know, it kind of moves around a little bit, opens and closes a bit. The vacuum line, or I suppose vacuum line, that was connected to that sucks real hard, but when it was connected to this, the car was idling real rough and shit, and I just took it off and just left it, it's this hose here. When I took it off and just left it to, vent into the atmosphere, well actually it's sucking air in, the car just ran really smooth. So I'm going to try tomorrow. I'm not going to put my air intake back on. I'm just going to run with no filter, and just let pretty much exactly how it is, but I'll put the fuel back on because I took it off to show you the vapors. And I'll see how that goes tomorrow, and if that's still shit, then we're back to the drawing board. And I've just remembered as well, here is something that I realized, and I was talking about it in the other video, but realized that I made a mistake. I was talking as if the car didn't have a return fuel line. I had totally forgotten about that. I was talking as if the fuel runs through the coil and then it gets up to the injector and then it's backed up there and it only uses how much fuel it uses as you accelerate. Totally forgetting that there's a return line, which means that as I'm heating up fuel, it's constantly getting sent back to the motor. You would have seen in the other video how much petrol comes out, and then you would have seen as well the jet and how much it sprays. So 98% of that fuel, if not more, 99% of that fuel is getting sent back to the tank and not actually being used, right? Which made me realize, that's not necessarily a bad thing, but what it made me realize was that to heat the fuel up, getting close to the auto ignition point, anywhere I'd like to get the petrol to between 200 and 250 at maximum, 250 degrees. To do that, I've got to do that really quick. I've got to get it straight from that line, heat it on that coil, and it's got to be 200 degrees by the time it's at the carburetor, and if it's not, then it's going to be sent back. So that made me realize a few things. Maybe I need to put more coils in. I definitely need to perhaps solder it or put something else on there, like JB Weld. I forget what the Australian brand is, but it's like a compound where you mix the two substances together and then it goes hard like a weld. Maybe I'll cover the whole thing in that, then perhaps wrap it with exhaust header wrapper, like performance type stuff. Or maybe, actually now I think of it, this is a budget build, I'll probably just wrap it in a a shitload of tin foil, make it nice and tight, and probably use a whole what do you call it, a whole roll or two, and then I'm going to put the shield back on. I didn't end up doing that. All of that, and then perhaps in future as well, I might wrap the fuel lines, the rubber part, I might wrap those up in either foil or maybe, I know you can get it's kind of like rubber, or no, I think it's more like a foam, something like that, and wrap the hoses in that and get that as hot as possible. But as I hypothesized yesterday, I reckon I thought that I was getting the fuel to about 50 degrees, with the manifold getting to about 200 degrees at normal. It does get hotter when it's idling, but when you're actually driving the car, I'm shocked at how much that wind actually cools that manifold down. It's a lot. I got it to about 280. It must have been around 300 because the thermometer stopped working. The screen went a bit blurry and stuff. It's only rated to 300, and I got that revving it medium to high, but sitting still. And then I realized that if you were revving it that hard, you wouldn't drive it that hard, first off. Second off, if you're driving it, it's getting all that cool air. So when I was doing 100 down the freeway and driving as I would normally, it only gets to about 200 degrees. So essentially, there's no way I'll be able to get that fuel to the heat that I want. But I'm already looking at other options, because I'm sure that there's better ways. I mean, all of the other guys don't simply do this. The guys that are actually doing this long term, they build a separate system, a separate box or a tube with a separate carburetor or another inlet, and then it travels through that, and then they use the original carburetor purely as the air fuel that's already mixed, the air fuel intake, and it controls that with the butterfly with no petrol connected to the original carburetor. They have it all done before, so they're probably smart. They've probably been doing it longer than me, so that's something I'll probably look into doing. But yeah, that is all.